In the depths of human experience, there exists a profound truth that often eludes our understanding: the sacred power of solitude. Today, I want to share with you a message that speaks directly to those hearts feeling the weight of isolation, to those souls questioning their path, and to every spirit wondering why they feel set apart from the world they once knew so well. Consider for a moment how the greatest transformations in nature occur in isolation. A seed must be buried in darkness before it can sprout into life. A caterpillar must envelope itself in solitude before emerging as a butterfly. A pearl forms in the hidden depths of an oyster, far from watching eyes. These are not mere coincidences but reflections of a divine pattern woven into the very fabric of existence. Throughout history, we witness the same pattern in the lives of those who were destined to bring profound change to the world. In ancient times, there lived a shepherd who spent 40 years in the wilderness, far from the opulent palaces of Egypt where he was raised. This isolation wasn't a punishment but a preparation. In those quiet years among the sheep, Moses discovered not just his true identity but the voice of God that would later guide him to lead an entire nation to freedom. Think about the moments in your own life when you felt that inexplicable distance growing between you and the world around you. Perhaps you've noticed fewer invitations arriving, relationships growing distant, or opportunities seeming to pass you by. In these moments, a profound truth emerges: what appears as rejection often masks a divine selection. When the universe begins to draw a veil between you and the world, it's not to diminish you but to distinguish you. This separation serves a purpose far greater than our immediate understanding can grasp. It's in these moments of apparent isolation that the most significant work of transformation occurs within us. Consider the hidden years of Joseph, sold into slavery and imprisoned in Egypt. Each moment of his isolation served as a brushstroke in the masterpiece of his destiny. The very separation that seemed to deny his dreams was actually preparing him to fulfill them on a scale grander than he could have imagined. His story teaches us that isolation often precedes elevation, but this elevation isn't merely about personal success, it's about being positioned to serve a greater purpose. In the silence of isolation, we begin to hear the whispers of wisdom that the noise of constant connection drowns out. This is where we develop the depth of character that surface-level relationships cannot cultivate. Just as a tree's roots grow deeper in times of drought, our spiritual roots extend further in times of isolation, reaching for the living waters that sustain us when surface streams run dry. But why does the divine choose to work through isolation? The answer lies in understanding the nature of transformation itself. True change requires space, space to reflect, space to heal, space to grow. When we're constantly surrounded by the familiar, we tend to remain in familiar patterns. It's only when we're separated from these patterns that we can begin to see new possibilities, to imagine new ways of being. Think of a sculptor working with precious metal. Before creating something beautiful, the metal must first be isolated from its ore, heated in the crucible, and purified through fire. This process isn't about destruction but about revelation, revealing the true nature and potential of the material. Similarly, your isolation isn't about punishment but about preparation. There's a profound difference between isolation and loneliness. Loneliness is the pain of unwanted separation, but isolation, divine isolation, is the space created for sacred transformation. In this space, we begin to understand that while we may feel alone, we are never abandoned. The very force that has set us apart is the same force that stays closest to us during our transformation. As you journey through this season of separation, understand that there's a divine choreography at work. Every person who seems to step away, every door that appears to close, every opportunity that seems to pass by, these are not random events but carefully orchestrated steps in your preparation. The divine doesn't waste any experience. Every moment of isolation serves a purpose in the greater narrative of your life. Consider how a diamond is formed, through intense pressure, in complete isolation, far from watching eyes. The very conditions that seem harsh and unwelcoming are essential for creating something of lasting beauty and value. Your current experience of separation may feel similar, intense, uncomfortable, perhaps even painful. But just as the diamond emerges more valuable because of, not in spite of, these conditions, you too are being shaped by this experience. In these moments of divine isolation, you're being given an opportunity that few recognize and even fewer embrace, the chance to develop spiritual muscles that can only be strengthened in solitude. Patience, which grows in the soil of waiting. Resilience, which develops under the pressure of perseverance. Wisdom, which crystallizes in the silence of contemplation. What appears as social distance often masks spiritual proximity. When human voices grow quiet, divine whispers become clearer. This is why so many spiritual traditions speak of the desert experience, that necessary season of separation where the superficial falls away and the essential emerges. In your current experience of isolation, you're not just being separated from something, you're being separated for something. The process of divine isolation often follows a pattern that, while painful, serves a precise purpose. First comes the separation, the drawing away from familiar circles and comfortable connections. This initial stage often feels like loss, like something is being taken from you. But in reality, this is the beginning of your protection. Just as a gardener removes a delicate plant from common soil to protect it from disease, your isolation is often a form of divine quarantine, protecting you from influences that could hinder your growth. Following separation comes the silence, those moments when it seems like nothing is happening, when prayers seem to echo unanswered and progress appears stalled. This silence isn't empty, it's pregnant with possibility. Just as a composer uses rests and pauses to create musical tension and anticipation, these silent seasons are creating space for what's to come. In these moments, you're developing spiritual hearing, learning to discern the subtle frequencies of divine guidance that are often drowned out by the noise of constant activity. Then comes the strengthening, the gradual but unmistakable building of internal resources that can only develop in solitude. Think of how a muscle grows. It's not during the exercise but during the rest period that actual growth occurs. Similarly, these seasons of isolation are your spiritual rest periods, where the challenges you faced are being converted into strength, wisdom, and discernment. This strengthening process isn't just about developing personal power, it's about being equipped for purpose. Every great calling requires preparation, and true preparation rarely happens in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows, in the quiet moments when no one is watching. This is where character is forged, where conviction deepens, and where courage takes root. As you navigate this season of divine isolation, understand that you're not just being hidden, you're being held. The same hands that have drawn you apart are the hands that are molding you, shaping you, preparing you for a purpose that requires this very preparation. Your isolation isn't a punishment, it's a promotion in process. There's a strategic element to divine isolation that often goes unrecognized. Just as a military leader might withdraw troops to reposition them for greater impact, your current separation might be a strategic withdrawal preparing you for greater influence. The very connections that are being severed might be making way for new alignments that will better serve your ultimate purpose. Consider how a seed must be isolated from its parent plant to grow into its own tree. If it remained forever connected, it would never develop its own root system, never reach its full potential. Similarly, your isolation might be the very thing allowing you to develop spiritual independence, to find your own authentic voice, to discover the unique contribution you're meant to make to the world. This season of isolation is also teaching you something crucial about trust, not just trust in the divine, but trust in the process of transformation itself. It's easy to trust when we can see the path ahead, when every step is illuminated. But true trust, the kind that transforms us, grows in darkness. It develops when we can't see the next step but take it anyway, believing that the same force that initiated our journey will guide it to completion. The experience of divine isolation often brings us face to face with our deepest fears, fears of abandonment, fears of insignificance, fears of being forgotten. But these fears, when faced in the context of sacred solitude, become doorways to deeper truth. They reveal not our weaknesses but our attachments, not our inadequacies but our opportunities for growth. In these moments of separation, you're being given a gift that our connected world rarely offers, the gift of undistracted self-discovery. When the noise of constant comparison fades, when the pressure to perform for others diminishes, we can finally hear our own authentic voice. We can finally see ourselves not as others see us, but as we're truly meant to be. This journey through isolation isn't just about personal transformation, it's about communal impact. The wisdom you're gaining in solitude isn't meant to remain private, it's being cultivated for sharing. The strength you're developing isn't just for your own battles, it's being forged to help others fight theirs. The insights you're receiving in silence are tomorrow's messages of hope for those who will walk similar paths. Think of how a lighthouse stands apart, isolated on rocky shores or distant islands. Its separation isn't a punishment, it's a positioning. Its solitude serves a purpose, to guide ships safely through dangerous waters. Similarly, your isolation might be positioning you to serve as a beacon for others, your experience of separation becoming a light that helps others navigate their own dark nights. The divine often uses isolation to develop in us a quality that can't be cultivated in crowds: authenticity. In solitude, we're stripped of the masks we wear for others, forced to confront our true selves. This confrontation, while uncomfortable, is essential for genuine transformation. It's in these moments of naked honesty with ourselves that we begin to align with our true purpose. There's a mysterious paradox in divine isolation. The more deeply we enter into solitude, the more connected we become to universal truth. As external distractions fall away, internal clarity emerges. We begin to see patterns we missed before, understand truths that were always present but obscured by the noise of constant activity. This season of separation is teaching you something profound about timing, divine timing. In our connected world, we've grown accustomed to instant results, immediate responses, constant feedback. But true transformation doesn't operate on human schedules. Just as a pearl needs time to form, just as a seed needs time to sprout, your development requires its own sacred timing. Your current experience of isolation might feel like a withdrawal from life, but it's actually a deeper engagement with it. You're being given the opportunity to experience life not just as a participant but as an observer, to understand patterns and principles that can only be seen from a distance. This perspective will prove invaluable in the seasons to come. In these moments of divine isolation, you're developing a crucial skill, the ability to distinguish between voices. When the chorus of human opinions grows quiet, we can better discern the difference between external pressures and internal truth, between societal expectations and divine guidance. This discernment is essential for the role you're being prepared to play. The process of isolation often brings us through different chambers of transformation. First comes the chamber of release, where we're separated from dependencies that have limited our growth. Then the chamber of refinement, where our character is purified through solitude. Finally, the chamber of revelation, where we begin to understand the purpose behind our preparation. This journey through isolation is teaching you something crucial about strength. True strength isn't developed in competition but in composition. It's not about comparing yourself to others, but about becoming more fully yourself. The silence of solitude is composing in you a unique symphony of gifts, insights, and abilities that couldn't be developed any other way. As you navigate this season of separation, remember that isolation isn't just about what's being removed from your life, it's about what's being refined within you. Every moment of solitude is an opportunity for deeper connection with your true purpose. Every experience of separation is creating space for new growth, new understanding, new possibilities. The divine often uses isolation to develop in us a quality that's rare in our connected world: depth. In a culture that celebrates surface-level connections and instant insights, true depth can only be developed in solitude. Like a well that must be dug deep to reach living water, your isolation is creating depth that will serve not just you but many others in seasons to come. This experience of divine isolation is also teaching you something profound about abundance. True abundance isn't about quantity of connections but quality of character. In these moments of separation, you're developing spiritual wealth that can't be measured in conventional terms. You're acquiring wisdom that can't be gained through casual connections, understanding that can't be developed in crowds. As your journey through this season continues, understand that every moment of isolation is contributing to your preparation. Like a master artist working in secret on a masterpiece, the divine is working in your moments of separation to create something beautiful, something meaningful, something that will serve a purpose greater than personal success. The silence of your solitude isn't empty, it's filled with possibility. The distance you feel from others isn't rejection, it's protection. The sense of being hidden isn't about shame, it's about preparation. Every moment of this journey is purposeful, every experience is meaningful, every instance of separation is serving your transformation. Remember that in these moments of divine isolation, you're not just being separated from something, you're being separated for something. The very experiences that seem to be distancing you from your past are actually drawing you closer to your purpose. The solitude that feels like absence is actually pregnant with presence, full of possibility, rich with potential. As this season of separation continues, hold on to this truth: your isolation isn't a deviation from your path, it's an essential part of it. The very experiences that seem to be setting you apart are actually setting you up for a purpose that requires this preparation. You're not just being isolated, you're being initiated into a new level of understanding, a new depth of wisdom, a new capacity for impact. The journey through divine isolation isn't just about personal transformation, it's about communal contribution. The wisdom you're gaining in solitude isn't meant to remain private, it's being cultivated for sharing. The strength you're developing isn't just for your own battles, it's being forged to help others fight theirs. The insights you're receiving in silence are tomorrow's messages of hope for those who will walk similar paths. In these final moments of reflection, understand that your experience of isolation is part of a greater story. The same force that has set you apart is preparing to set you up for a purpose that requires this very preparation. Your separation isn't random, it's strategic. Your solitude isn't punishment, it's preparation. Your isolation isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of a new chapter. As you continue on this sacred path of solitude, remember that every moment of separation is bringing you closer to your true purpose. Every experience of isolation is developing in you the qualities needed for your unique contribution to the world. You're not just being hidden, you're being held, shaped, and prepared for a revelation that will make clear the purpose behind every moment of your preparation. Trust this process of divine isolation. Embrace these moments of sacred solitude. Allow this season of separation to do its deep work within you. For when the time of revelation comes, and it will come, you'll understand that every moment of isolation was necessary, every experience of separation was purposeful, every instance of solitude was preparing you for this very moment. Your isolation isn't your identity, it's your initiation. Your separation isn't your story, it's your preparation. Your solitude isn't your destination, it's your development. Trust the process, embrace the preparation, and know that when the time is right, the purpose behind every moment of your isolation will be revealed in ways that transform not just your life, but the lives of many others. Remember, in these moments of divine isolation, you're not just being separated, you're being selected. You're not just being hidden, you're being held. You're not just being removed, you're being refined. Every moment of this journey is purposeful, every experience is meaningful, every instance of separation is serving your transformation into who you're truly meant to be. As we conclude this exploration of divine isolation, carry with you this truth: your separation is sacred, your solitude is strategic, and your isolation is intentional. Trust the process, embrace the preparation, and know that when the time of revelation comes, you'll understand that every moment of separation was necessary for the purpose you're being prepared to fulfill. The journey through divine isolation isn't easy, but it's essential. It's not just about enduring separation, it's about embracing transformation. Every moment of solitude is creating in you something beautiful, something meaningful, something that will serve not just your purpose but the purposes of many others who will be touched by your journey. Your current experience of isolation isn't a detour from your destiny, it's a direct path to it. The very experiences that seem to be setting you apart are actually setting you up for a purpose that requires this preparation. Trust this process of divine isolation, embrace these moments of sacred solitude, and know that when the time is right, the purpose behind every moment of your separation will be revealed in ways that transform not just your life but the lives of many others. As you continue on this sacred path, remember that your isolation isn't your identity, it's your initiation into a new level of purpose, understanding, and impact. Your separation isn't your story, it's your preparation for a revelation that will make clear the meaning behind every moment of solitude. Your journey through isolation is teaching you something profound about divine timing, a truth that can only be learned in the quiet spaces between activity. Just as nature has its seasons, each serving a specific purpose in the cycle of growth, your season of isolation is serving a divine purpose in the development of your character and calling. Think about how a master craftsman works with precious materials. Before creating something of lasting beauty and value, they must first select the right material, separate it from lesser elements, and work with it in isolation. This careful process of selection and separation isn't about diminishing the material's value but about revealing its true potential. Similarly, your isolation isn't diminishing your worth, it's revealing your true purpose. In these moments of divine separation, you're developing a kind of spiritual sensitivity that can only be cultivated in solitude. Like a musician who must practice alone before performing with an orchestra, your time of isolation is developing in you the precise spiritual tones and frequencies that will later harmonize with others in beautiful ways. This isn't just about personal development, it's about communal contribution. Consider how the most profound transformations in nature occur in hidden places. A seed must be buried before it can sprout. A butterfly must enter the chrysalis before it can emerge transformed. A pearl must form in the hidden depths before it can reveal its beauty. Your isolation is following the same divine pattern of transformation. What appears as burial is actually incubation. What feels like hiding is actually hatching. The silence of your solitude isn't empty, it's pregnant with possibility. Every moment of separation is creating space for new growth, new understanding, new capabilities to emerge. Like a garden being prepared for planting, the very spaces that feel empty are actually being enriched, made ready for seeds of purpose that will soon take root and flourish. This season of divine isolation is teaching you something crucial about strength. True strength isn't just about what you can do, it's about who you become in the process. The very experiences that seem to be testing your limits are actually expanding them, developing in you a spiritual resilience that couldn't be formed any other way. This isn't just about surviving isolation, it's about being transformed by it. As you continue on this sacred path, remember that every great calling requires preparation, and true preparation rarely happens in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows, in the quiet moments when no one is watching. This is where character is forged, where conviction deepens, where courage takes root. Your isolation isn't a pause in your journey, it's an essential part of it. The divine often uses isolation to develop in us a quality that's rare in our connected world: authenticity. In solitude, we're stripped of the masks we wear for others, forced to confront our true selves. This confrontation, while uncomfortable, is essential for genuine transformation. It's in these moments of naked honesty with ourselves that we begin to align with our true purpose. Your current experience of separation isn't just about what's being removed from your life, it's about what's being refined within you. Every moment of solitude is an opportunity for deeper connection with your true purpose. Every experience of isolation is creating space for new growth, new understanding, new possibilities to emerge. This isn't just about enduring separation, it's about being transformed by it. Remember, in these sacred moments of isolation, you're not just being hidden, you're being held. The same force that has drawn you apart is holding you close, shaping you with purpose, preparing you for a revelation that will make clear the meaning behind every moment of your separation. Your isolation isn't random, it's rhythmic, moving to the beat of divine timing, orchestrating a transformation that will serve not just your purpose but the purposes of many others. Trust this process of divine isolation. Embrace these moments of sacred solitude. Allow this season of separation to do its deep work within you. For when the time of revelation comes, and it will come, you'll understand that every moment of isolation was necessary, every experience of separation was purposeful, every instance of solitude was preparing you for this very moment of emergence. Your journey isn't just about personal transformation, it's about communal impact. The wisdom you're gaining in solitude isn't meant to remain private, it's being cultivated for sharing. The strength you're developing isn't just for your own battles, it's being forged to help others fight theirs. The insights you're receiving in silence are tomorrow's messages of hope for those who will walk similar paths. As we conclude this sacred exploration of divine isolation, carry with you this truth: your separation is sacred, your solitude is strategic, and your isolation is intentional. Trust the process, embrace the preparation, and know that when the time of revelation comes, you'll understand that every moment of separation was necessary for the purpose you're being prepared to fulfill. Your isolation isn't your identity, it's your initiation into a new level of purpose, understanding, and impact that will transform not just your life but the lives of countless others who will be touched by your journey.